What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Trev, and I'm back with another video. This video is gonna be really lit. I'm excited, as you guys can see on my face. I'm ecstatic. Like, I'm ready to share this one with you guys because this is gonna be the first ever, for the first time, you heard it here, folks. This is gonna be the first ever story time video that I tell today, and this one is gonna be a great one. Like, I'm excited. I thought about this story time and which one I wanted to pick as my first story time because I have a lot of great stories in life, a lot of insight in life, and I want to share some of those with you, but it was a struggle for me to pick the first one. So I got inspired by my last video to do this story time because I feel like this story that I'm about to tell you from my life, it can inspire a lot of you to do great things in your life, basically, because a lot of people, I find they struggle with their mentality, their mental mind state of how to accomplish things. And I feel like this video could be a great helper because you guys can learn from my personal life, and hopefully you guys gain a moral from my personal story. And then I hope you guys go out there into the world and do something great. So without further ado, I'm going to get into this story time. And it's going to be a story time for my personal life. So here we go. All right. So as you guys know, I'm a big football fan. I played football and, I wrestled and I did sports. So, it always, like, I always loved the sport. I always played sports growing up. And I felt like I wanted to tell this story of how I started playing sports because it's an essential part of my character even today. So I want to tell you guys the story of how I developed my mental mind state that I have now as an adult, all the way when I was a little kid. So we're going to take you guys back to the year of 2003. 2003. Some of you little niggas was born in 2003. I was born in 98. But I'm going to take you guys back to 2003 when I was about 5 years old. 5 years old. I was in the single digits. I haven't been in the single digits in years. But, like, I was 5 years old, and I was in love with football, even like I am today. Like, I used to watch NFL films. I used to watch all the highlights. I used to watch a lot of Reggie Bush, who's my favorite player. I used to watch so much football on the NFL Network that I basically became a damn football. So I would just love football as a kid. So I just felt and always envisioned myself playing football, playing sports. Even back then, I had dreams of being in the NFL. Unfortunately, that didn't happen because, I'm only like 5'4", but, I had dreams of playing in the NFL, and, I just always loved the sport. So I begged my parents, I begged them to play football, even though it was dangerous. I told them how much I wanted it. I made out like a whole detailed plan of how I'd become an NFL star, and I basically just laid it all out there on the line. And they wanted me to play anyway because, the town that I'm from, Piscataway, New Jersey, it's a big football school, as well as the town that I grew up in, that I also moved to and grew up in, Union, New Jersey. They're also big football schools. So it's just like when you're a kid in these towns, you're expected to play football. Like it's like a rite of passage if you're like a boy. So, I begged my parents to play football when I was 5. I was inspired by Reggie Bush. That's why I'm always number 5, no matter what football game I play. So I was inspired by them, and my parents wanted me to play. But, if you guys looked at the thumbnail, I was a smaller kid. So they were afraid I was going to get hurt. They were afraid about all these things, but they still wanted me to play. So they let my older brother play football first because he's like 2 years older than me. And then they said, oh, we're going to watch him play football. He's older. He's bigger than you. You watch this year, and then next year you'll play. So I'm like, bet. So I spent the year from 2003 to 2004 watching my brother play and just mentally preparing to play football. And then during that year, his Mighty Might football team in Pop Warner, if you guys know anything about Pop Warner, if you grew up playing football, they went undefeated. Like, their Piscataway Braves team, they went undefeated. And then every weekend, like, they played a game, I was basically watching greatness. Like, I was watching them score touchdowns. I was watching them play great. And then I just saw myself doing this in the future. And I was like, yo, when my time comes, I'm going to be ready. When my time comes, I'm going to be ready. So let's fast forward a year. When you're a kid, time goes by kind of fast. So, let's fast forward a year. I'm a year older. I'm 6 years old. It's 2004. I think Madden 04 when Michael Vick came out. And, I was ready to play football. It was my time to shine. It was my time to play. And guess what, guys? I fucking quit. I fucking quit on something I love. And it may come as a shock because when you guys see how confident I am now and how I talk about things and how I discuss life, I was a fucking quitter because, life punched me in the mouth and I didn't expect it to punch me in the mouth, and my expectations were bigger than my dream, and my mouth couldn't my body couldn't count a cash that my mouth checked. So I quit. And I'm gonna tell you why I quit, because the first day of practice, I remember this shit like it was yesterday. It was a bright summer day, and back then we used to all go outside. Like, we'd ride our bikes to the football field, we'd do all kinds of cool stuff and just basically be like kids. We weren't like kids nowadays where they're just on their phones all day. We'd do kid shit. So I remember my first day, I rode with some friends in the neighborhood, and then we joined the Pop Warner team or whatever, right? So my first day I quit because I remember this shit distinctly. It was a hot ass day. We had to wear our helmets, our equipment, our pads, and these pads were a lot, like, way more bulky and stuff compared to the stuff we have now with modern technology. So we had to run in the heat with no water and stuff, and we had to run around like these poles to do laps. And I couldn't do that because I was so tired, and I felt like I was like getting my breath sucked out of my body. But the funny thing is, when I quit, I ran away like a bitch ass nigga. Like, I really took off and ran. So I had no energy to finish the laps, but I had energies to run away and be a coward. And I think about that to this day, because that really shaped my character, because a lot of things happened after I did that, because I ran back to my parents, I quit, I told them I don't want to play football, and they were like, all right, bet, you want to quit, you want to be a quitter, go ahead and quit, and then you're just going to spend the whole summer inside while your friends play. So that's what my black ass did. That's what my quitting ass did back then. But hold up, it gets way worse. So on the weekends, right, I would go to my grandma's house on the weekends because it was a different time for my family. I always like spending time with my grandma. She's my role model, my inspiration. But I always went to her house for the weekends to just chill out and not be in my hometown all the time. Or my grandma just wanted to hang out with me and my brother all the time. So, I always go to grandma's house on the weekends, and, I would always play with my cousins and stuff. And then, I'm going to tell you guys some real shit. Back in those days, we used to get cooked. You could get cooked. We used to say things that are vulgar. There was no holding back. There was no political correctness. There was no niceness. If you failed, you got roasted. I got roasted for being called short. I was called what they would call a little person as an insult. I can't repeat it because I got to keep it PG. And, I was roasted by my cousins for being a quitter on top of being short. And, that never sat well with me because, I could roast back. But at the end of the day, it was sort of true because I quit like a little bitch. So, I felt some type of way when I was at my grandma's house and they would just clown me every weekend for quitting. So, after I quit or whatever, they just clown me every weekend. And that just weighed on my mental because I had really started questioning myself like, yo, am I a quitter? Am I a bitch like they say I am? And then the answer was a resounding no. So, after I quit, I said, you know what? I don't like the feeling of being a quitter, so I'm going to train harder and I'm going to do this again next year. So, I started doing things only a kid from the 90s could do because, back then we didn't have no cell phones or equipment or anything. So I just basically I just made my own workout out based on Jerry Rice because he used to run up the hills and I saw that on NFL Network. So I just ran in my grandma's backyard until like I built my stamina up. And my brother, he played a year ago, so he had a year's experience. So he would always race me in the yard, or we just practice tackling, even though this was not safe, but it was the early 2000s. So we would just practice tackling, we just play outside, and I just got stronger and stronger. And I watched my confidence go up. And, niggas was still clowning me or whatever, but, I kept going, I kept training, and when the next summer came around, 2005, I remember this summer distinctly, because I think Young Jock was popping, Reggie Bush won the Heisman. It was a great year. So I came back for football, right? I came back, everybody knows me as a quitter and this and that, right? So I come back, I'm still short, a little bit taller, and I come back the next year, right? And I don't think anybody noticed me except for the kids from last year. So they thought I was like a newbie because they didn't remember me because I quit on the first day. So I came back, I played for the Mighty Mites team, right? And, when we had to run those laps again, which I knew was coming because it was the first practice again, this time I ran those laps almost perfectly. I was out of breath, I was panting, but in my mental, I said, yo, I got to keep going. I'm not a quitter. I'm not a bitch. I worked this hard to get here, and I'm not going to quit again. And, I finished the laps on the first day of practice, and then no homo, my coach, pause. Can't say that one. But my coach, he smacked me on the butt. He said, good job. And then from there on, I finished the entire season of Mighty Mite football. And then I went on, this is going to be a different story time, but I went on to become pretty good at football. In my town, I went to football camps at Rutgers University when I was a little kid, like youth camps. And I also went to like speed camps when I was in middle school and high school. And I also played more Pop Warner in middle school. But I became a pretty solid player. And, that basically shaped my mental. And that's how I became a football player basically, and I got more story times for that ass. Don't even worry. But yeah, that's just my story for today. I wanted to share that with you guys in case you guys needed some motivation or some laughs. And you know, we all human or whatever. So I just wanted to make that little story for you guys and make that little moral for you guys. But if you guys like that story time, you know, like, comment, subscribe, and most of all, never be a quitter. Never quit on your dreams. Never quit on anything. And that's my video for today. Thank you.